$320 million. That's how much money Brazil's federal police say was laundered through a network of funk musicians, social media influencers, and an accountant's iCloud backup. But the real story isn't the celebrities. It's how a single cloud backup became the most important piece of evidence in one of Brazil's largest financial crime investigations. And if your institution onboards entertainers, influencers, or anyone in the creator economy, the laundering method they used is designed to slip right past your controls. This is Operação Narco Fluxo. Let me walk you through how it worked. In April 2026, over 200 federal police officers fanned out across 8 Brazilian states. They carried 39 arrest warrants and 45 search and seizure orders. Their targets weren't just drug traffickers. They were funk musicians with millions of followers, digital influencers with massive audiences, and a network of shell companies spanning the country. The alleged total, more than 1.6 billion Brazilian reais. Roughly $320 million moved in under 2 years. If you work in compliance or transaction monitoring, here's the question. Would your system flag a series of large incoming transfers to an account belonging to a chart-topping musician with 15 million Instagram followers? Or would that celebrity profile actually make the transactions look more legitimate? That's exactly what Brazilian prosecutors call a compliance shield. The idea is simple but effective. When your customer is famous, when they have chart hits and brand deals, their wealth looks natural. Banks don't question it. Payment processors wave it through. But to understand the money, you have to go back to where it started. And that's not a recording studio. It's the Atlantic Ocean. Narco Fluxo didn't come out of nowhere. It's the latest phase of a multi-year investigation. It started with Operação Narco Fluxo, which tracked cocaine shipments from Brazil to Europe on small vessels. Then came Narco Bet and Narco Azimut, which followed the money from those drug sales into illegal betting platforms and online raffles. Narco Fluxo targets what investigators call the financial nucleus. Not the drug runners, not the boat captains. The people who turn dirty cash into clean assets. And that's where the entertainers come in. Now, you might think this is just another celebrity money scandal. Rich artists spending beyond their means and cooking the books. But that's not what this is. According to prosecutors, these artists weren't just spending drug money. They were allegedly central to the laundering architecture itself. Their fame was the infrastructure. Here's how the scheme worked, step by step. And if you've studied classic 3-stage laundering, you'll recognize the bones. But the skin they put on it is something else entirely. Stage 1. Placement. Drug trafficking proceeds from European cocaine sales flowed back to Brazil. But instead of depositing cash directly, the group allegedly pushed it through illegal betting platforms and digital raffles. Think about it. You run a digital raffle for a luxury car. Thousands of small payments come in from ticket buyers. That gives you a perfect excuse for massive cash inflows. And the prize money going out looks like legitimate payouts. It's a ready-made laundering cycle disguised as a promotion. Stage 2. Layering. This is where the operation got sophisticated. The group allegedly used a technique investigators call renting CPFs. CPF is Brazil's taxpayer ID, similar to a social security number. They recruited low-income individuals, friends, fans, local associates, and paid them small amounts to lend their identities. These people, known as laranjas or straw men, declared incomes of 5,000 reais a month. But investigators found some of them had moved over 22 million reais through their accounts in less than 2 years. The transfers were fragmented on purpose, classic smurfing. Dozens of small payments spread across multiple fintechs and bank accounts, all engineered to stay below the automatic monitoring thresholds set by COAF, Brazil's financial intelligence unit. Then came the crypto layer. Cash was converted to cryptocurrency through OTC desks and exchanges. Those digital assets were moved across borders without going through formal foreign exchange channels. Once abroad, they were converted back to fiat currency. That's what prosecutors call evasão de divisas, illegal capital flight. Stage 3. Integration. The cleaned money came back as luxury vehicles, real estate designer watches and jewelry. Federal police seized around 20 million reais in cars alone. Porsches, BMWs, pickup trucks, all registered to straw men or shell companies. Behind all of this sat an array of shell companies, events firms, digital marketing agencies, import-export businesses. Most had minimal real operations. but they issued invoices, received sponsorship payments, and held assets that ultimately belonged to the core group. And here's where the entertainers fit. According to investigators, the musicians and influencers weren't just spending the proceeds. Their public visibility was the mechanism. When a bank sees millions flowing through an account tied to a nationally known artist with chart-topping hits, what do they think? They think it's consistent with the customer profile. Show revenue, streaming income, brand deals, sponsorships, it all checks out on paper. The fame itself becomes the due diligence, and that's the whole point. It didn't stop at the musicians. Investigators identified what they call a media operator. One of the suspects allegedly ran a major gossip page with enormous reach. According to federal police, he was paid significant sums to promote betting platforms and raffles, manage public narratives around investigated artists, and run crisis PR when heat came down. Another influencer with around 15 million followers was arrested alongside his spouse. Prosecutors allege they functioned as both beneficiaries and intermediaries, running what looks like a lifestyle import business that also moved funds for the network. Now, the defense teams say all of this is legitimate. They argue that conspicuous wealth is normal for successful artists, that everything is tax compliant and documented, and honestly, in some cases, that argument could hold up. But then there's the iCloud backup. And this is where the case turns from allegations into evidence. In October 2025, federal police arrested an accountant named Rodrigo Morgado during a separate investigation into illegal gambling and drug trafficking. During that arrest, they obtained access to his iCloud backup. What they found was extraordinary. Bank statements, transaction receipts, chat logs, corporate records, powers of attorney, contracts. Brazilian press called it a treasure trove. Investigators called it a map of the criminal organization. Morgado had placed enormous confidence in the security of his cloud storage. He used it as a central repository for everything. Professional documents, personal files, financial records. Without realizing it, he had created a single source of truth for investigators. Once indexed and cross-referenced, the backup exposed the relationships between Morgado, the shell companies, the payment flows, the influencers, and the artists. One person's cloud storage unraveled a $320 million operation. And here's a technical detail that matters. The backup wasn't protected by end-to-end encryption. Apple's standard iCloud backup allows the company to provide access under valid legal process. Brazilian authorities got a warrant, and Apple provided the service keys. Had Morgado enabled Apple's advanced data protection, which offers full end-to-end encryption, investigators may never have accessed this data. It's a live example of why the debate around encryption and law enforcement access is far from theoretical. Armed with this evidence, on April 15, 2026, federal police launched the visible enforcement phase. Over 200 agents moved simultaneously across 9 jurisdictions. One of the primary targets was arrested mid-performance at a high-end party on the São Paulo coast. Another was taken from his luxury condominium in Rio de Janeiro's upscale Recreio dos Bandeirantes neighborhood. Police seized luxury cars, high-end watches, jewelry, cash, firearms, documents, and electronic devices. Courts authorized the freezing and seizure of up to 2.2 billion reais in assets across more than 70 individuals and companies. And the investigation goes deeper. One of the financial operators had prior records for drug trafficking and bank robberies and alleged links to the PCC, one of Brazil's most powerful organized crime factions. This isn't celebrity excess. This is organized crime using the entertainment industry as a washing machine. I want to hear from investigators and compliance professionals watching this. Have you seen this typology in your market, entertainers or influencers whose public profile essentially neutralizes your risk models? Drop a comment below, because this isn't just a Brazilian problem. In 2023, Turkey arrested a major social media influencer with 6 million followers in a similar scheme. Hundreds of millions in Turkish lira allegedly laundered through influencer bank accounts using fake invoices and shell companies. The pattern is nearly identical. Public fame as a cover for illicit flows. So what does this mean for your institution? Here's what I traced from the evidence that matters for compliance teams right now. First, enhanced due diligence for entertainers and influencers needs to go beyond income verification. You have to scrutinize third-party payments, raffle partnerships, betting sponsorships, and crypto exposure. A customer's follower count is not a risk mitigant. If anything, it should be a flag. Second, Network-based monitoring. If you see large values circulating through clusters of low-income individuals all connected to one public figure, that's not fan engagement. That's a potential strawman network. Your system should be mapping those relationships, not just scoring individual transactions. Third, fiat to crypto to fiat loops. If a high-risk customer is converting cash to crypto and back, especially across borders, that's textbook capital flight evasion. Your transaction monitoring needs to integrate crypto activity, not silo it. And fourth, open source intelligence monitoring. Several of these suspects were already connected to prior operations. Narco Vela, Narco Bet, Narco Azimut. If your institution had been monitoring public source reporting, those names would have triggered reviews long before the arrests. I've put together a full breakdown of the Narco Fluxo case with all the source documents and compliance takeaways on davinsidiligence.com. Links in the description. And if you want to listen to the full analysis on the go, the Da Vinci Diligence podcast is on Spotify. Here's what most people miss about this case. It's not about celebrities behaving badly. It's about an emerging typology that FATF and financial intelligence units worldwide need to take seriously. The creator economy is worth hundreds of billions of dollars globally. Influencers and entertainers move massive sums as a normal part of their business. And criminal organizations have figured out that embedding laundering within that legitimate revenue makes it nearly invisible to traditional controls. The old approach of high income equals expected high flows just doesn't work here. Risk models for entertainers and influencers need transactional behavior analysis, source of funds evidence beyond tax returns, and network relationship mapping. The case is still active. Most proceedings remain under judicial secrecy. 32 of the 39 arrest warrants were executed in the first wave, with several suspects still at large. And the related Narco Azimut phase has already produced 13 formal indictments for laundering over 262 million reais. Prosecutors are expected to file formal charges against the Narco Fluxo defendants following the same template. And investigators are already mining additional cloud accounts and seized devices for the next phase. The takeaway for anyone in financial crime is clear. The entertainment and influencer economy is now a laundering vector, not a theoretical one, a documented one, and the tools to detect it already exist. Network analysis, behavioral monitoring, cross-channel transaction tracking, and OSINT. The question is whether your institution is using them, or whether celebrity is still doing your due diligence for you. If this investigation opened your eyes to something new, subscribe. I release new financial crime cases every week. Share this with someone in compliance, risk, or fraud who needs to see it. This typology is going to grow, and the sooner your team understands it, the better prepared you'll be. Next week, I'm going deeper on how crypto OTC desks are being weaponized for cross-border laundering. And the numbers are even larger than what we saw today. Subscribe so you don't miss it.